Yoo-hoo! Hello, I am J-Dog, Jonn Karsseboom. You are watching The Garden Corner Show. We are passionate about everything gardening. Only problem is we're very, we're very real about it. I'm here with Mr. Dave. Mr. Dave, how are you today?
I'm doing awesome.
He is doing awesome. He's doing awesome because I think he's thinking about lunch. Thinking, gosh, lunch is coming up. Thank goodness. Hey, want to show you real quick. This is a personal project of ours and KT, right, KT?
That's right.
Because one year we collected pumpkin seeds, and what happened to those, KT? Remember those? We got all these great pumpkins,
Yes.
and then
They got collected.
they got collected, and then what?
It stayed collected.
And then they stayed collected. We didn't actually get the seeds into the ground. As a matter of fact, what happened is we cut out the seeds, and then I think we just left them to freeze, right? I think that we are determined this year, because this year, look at this. This is really, I think, is one of the coolest looking. What do we call this? A gourd, a pumpkin, or a squash? Technically, by the way, what is the difference between a gourd, pumpkin, and squash? And they're all members of the cucurbits family. And there's not really a systematic way of naming those. Usually pumpkins have a little bit of an orange color. We've got orange on this guy. But I think it's just the coolest. Look at that. Isn't that neat? So I hope next year that instead of selling pumpkins, that we just sell this really cool looking pumpkin. Anyway, but we've got to get the seeds out of this guy because I've only got 2. So we're going to cut into it. And this is another, maybe a 3-stage video that will show the progress on how we raise pumpkins. And maybe might give you some ideas, some inspiration. I've got a hori-hori knife. Have you ever seen a hori-hori knife, Dave? It's a sorry, just had to. Hori-hori knife is really a cool gardening tool, by the way. It's got the serrated edges on there. This is a hori-hori knife, I believe, is from Japan. So it's just very, very handy. You can seed things, you can dig into it. Sometimes when you have a container and it gets really well rooted, you can cut into it, and you want to plant something else, you can cut into it and kind of hack out the old plants or the old roots or make room for that. Anyway, we're going to test it on this guy right here, the pumpkin of the year. By the way, question you get: can you make pumpkin pie out of a gourd? And usually you don't have enough pumpkin goods to make a pumpkin pie out of a gourd. Though you can probably make a gourd pie out of a gourd. I don't think you can make a pumpkin pie out of a gourd. A gourd pie. You can make a gourd. You can't make a gourd pie out of a pumpkin either. Criminy. Talk about
Like potato.
Talk about a source of misinformation. Hey, Hollywood. Hollywood's Julio from Guatemala. Huh?
I want to eat that one.
You want to eat this? Hey, no, we got to save the seeds. You can have this later. The guys yesterday bought me lunch. It was so good. It was, I got to tell you about this. I am so sorry. They bought me lunch, and it was 5 tacos, handmade tacos, and it had this meat in there, and I didn't know what it was, all different kinds of meats, but then it had some cilantro in there, and we're going to grow some cilantro in the garden too, by the way. Really topped it off nicely with a little bit of salsa. Gourds. So we've got the seeds. These are the pumpkin seeds. I'm just going to take these out, and I'm going to put them on this tray So just regular pumpkin seeds, right? And it has that pumpkin stuff. And we're going to collect all that. Hey, I got to show you just something really cool. I opened up that second pumpkin. Let's take a look. I don't know if you ever stop to notice what's inside of a pumpkin, but look how intricate that is. Isn't that neat? Just a spider web maze of stuff. And then if you really look close, like here's a portion right here of how these seeds are grown. You know, they hang down like kind of like on that movie Aliens. You know, or was it Aliens 2 when all those things were just kind of pods were just hanging there. Sorry, but that's what it reminded me of. So isn't that kind of neat? Just something to see. And by the way, on these seeds, you'll be able to tell what some seeds are good and some seeds aren't going to be that great. Like, for instance, this seed would be a great one because you can just see there's a little bit of oomph to it. While there's some that aren't quite mature. Let me see, right here. There's just nothing to them, so it's very flimsy. That's not going to germinate. And then also, we kind of have to get our realistic expectation, too, about when we plant all of these, how many are actually going to germinate. So some of them will, some of them won't. And that's just part of, well, I guess that's just kind of part of life. So, but anyway, let me grab all these seeds. And then what we're going to do is wash them. And the reason, too, by the way, is what we don't want them to get is really moldy. And so I'm trying to get this as clean as possible. Mold and mildew is going to, hurt the seeds. Take a look. Ha 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 ha. And I counted them out. There are roughly about 425 seeds out of these two pumpkins. So what I'm going to do on this tray is now, this has a lot of airflow on it. And like I said, I'm just going to store this inside. I'm going to let it dry. And the flatter it is, by the way, the less mold and mildew you'll get on there. So if you got some good air circulation, we're going to dry this. And then I'm going to take a look at the calendar, count back, because I'm hoping pumpkins don't like a lot of cold weather. So I'm going to say May 5, May 10 is probably where we're going to plant these as plants. So I'm going to back up the calendar and start them in the greenhouse. And we'll go over that in another video. So right now we're just going to dry them, hold them, and then this will be a project. I hope to see some pumpkins when we're all finished. Hey, the quote for the day: there are no passengers on Mother Earth. There are no passengers on Spaceship Earth. There are only crew. Thank you very much, Marshall McLuhan. Show for the day: live your passion.
See me right out of the sunset on the color TV screen.